She was a wealthy heiress, but a betrayal led to her family's ruin. Reborn 3 times. She was unable to change the tragic ending. On her 4th time, she discovered that the mastermind was the son of her maid. This time, she decided to get close to him and make him fall in love with her. The morning sunlight pierced through the curtains, casting onto the figure lying in the center of the bed. Accompanied by the intrusive alarm on the bedside table, a slender arm extended from under the sheets and reached for the phone. The screen looked different from her memory, and she fumbled for quite some time before managing to silence the alarm. Unfortunately, 10 minutes later, the alarm rang again. However, over the years, she never allowed herself to make any mistakes in front of others. Not even a minor issue like being late for work was ever permissible. So after a while, the person who had been nestling in the sheets slowly sat up. As the sheets slid down with her movements, they revealed the slender figure of a 16 or 17-year-old girl. She wasn't usually one to oversleep, but today, her eyelids felt unusually heavy. She tried to open her eyes to see the scene before her, but everything seemed distorted, making her dizzy. Enduring this strange discomfort, she slowly moved to the edge of the bed. Suddenly, there came a knock at the door. Who would be knocking on her door at this hour? Kira? The person outside knocked on the door again, growing a bit anxious as there was no response from inside. Why did the woman's voice sound so familiar? She should have her slippers under the left side of her bed in her bedroom, but there was nothing today. It was the alarm clock on her bedside table that rang again 10 minutes later. This time, without hesitation, she dashed back to the bedside. Her hands trembled uncontrollably as she picked up the phone that was still ringing. Sure enough, it was the same model she had been using 7 years ago. What was more shocking was the calendar reminder that popped up when the alarm went off. The sophomore opening ceremony. September 2nd, 6 a.m. What? Her hand seemed to lose strength, and she couldn't hold on to the phone anymore. It slipped from her grasp and knocked against the bedside table before crashing to the floor with a loud clatter. She had indeed returned, back to 7 years ago, when she was 17. Kira recalled her final memories from last night, feeling a dizzy spell as she remembered the pain of being stabbed in the heart from behind, seeming to lose a lot of blood. Before she collapsed, what did she see? Why did she see such a vast expanse of stars just before losing consciousness? This time, she had done countless things to bring down his company. Finally, she had taken a major case away from him, and after negotiating with the client. After that, she remembered walking out of the other company, her car waiting at the company's entrance, the driver getting out to open her door. Then a group of people got drunk and started arguing on the roadside. Someone pushed her, someone had a knife. But, how could she have been alone? With no one following her? In any case, she had indeed died last night, and she had died at his hands again. Right? How could someone die 3 times in a row because of the same person, the same thing? Robin's group ranks among the top 2 in national revenue scale, although it is not as high as the Bowers group value, but between the two, there are many cooperation. For many years, balance has been maintained through the use of money. Unexpectedly, Robin's group, which could compete head-to-head with Bowers group, was acquired by a rising new company in a short period of time. When they initially invested, they thought the other party was just an investor. They didn't expect the other party to start acquiring a large number of shares held by retail investors. By the time they noticed, the other party had become a major shareholder with a 30% stake, severely affecting their company's decision-making. By the time they realized that issuing new shares or reclaiming shares was futile, the other party had already acquired more than half of the shares. From being ousted as the leader, failing in their comeback attempt, to declaring bankruptcy, all of this happened in just a few years. She busied herself for her parents, dealing with lawsuits or debts, not even noticing when her own health deteriorated. After going to the hospital for a checkup, she didn't live much longer. Little did she expect that when she opened her eyes again, she found herself back at 17. This time she seized the initiative, thinking that everything could still be changed. Before the rise of the new company, she launched a strong offensive against them, only to be targeted by the behind-the-scenes leader of the other party. On the way back from an evening banquet, their car was tampered with and rammed by a truck. She thought it was over this time, but when she opened her eyes again, she found herself back at 17. This time, instead of directly targeting their company, she found out the identity of the person in power. Unfortunately, she didn't have time to do anything and was caught up in last night's farce. Stabbed on the street. Kira lowered her eyes to the broken phone under the bed. Only then did she realize where she was now. This was her residence during high school, bought by her parents near the school for her convenience. Kira. The door was knocked on anxiously a few more times, as if the person outside would use a key to enter if she didn't respond soon. That's her, Mrs. Cruz, whom my parents hired to take care of her daily needs. And the person who made her a laughingstock for several lifetimes. Who died several times. It was none other than Mrs. Cruz's adopted son, Sammy.